15. Black celebrities who passed away too young. Then and now 2026. Imagine achieving greatness only to have it ripped away in the blink of an eye. These 15 black celebrities had the world at their feet, but their lives were tragically cut short by violence, illness, injustice, and heartbreak. Some were on the edge of superstardom. Others were already icons. But all of them left behind unanswered questions and unfinished legacies. Why were they taken so soon, and what can we learn from their stories? Watch until the end, hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to Legends of Black Excellence to honor their memory and continue their legacy. Lisa Left Eye Lopes. Lisa Nicole Lopes, known to the world as Left Eye, wasn't just a rapper, she was a visionary. As one-third of the groundbreaking R&B group TLC, she infused the group with unmistakable charisma, daring creativity, and a rebellious edge that set them apart in the 90s music scene. With her signature eye black under one lens and her fearless attitude, Lisa challenged industry norms and shaped TLC's bold image alongside T-Boz and Chili. Born on May 27, 1971 in Philadelphia, Lisa came from a turbulent background marked by strict discipline and emotional turmoil. These early struggles deeply influenced her artistry. TLC's Crazy Sexy Cool became one of the best-selling girl group albums in history, with hits like Creep and Red Light Special showcasing the group's sensual maturity. Yet Lisa's personal conflicts, including highly publicized disputes with her bandmates and her infamous incident involving a fire at her partner's mansion, often put her in the headlines for the wrong reasons. But beyond the drama, Lisa was searching for clarity. Spiritually curious and emotionally intense, she began a journey of self-discovery that led her to Honduras, where she found solace in nature and indigenous healing practices. In 2002, she was filming a documentary titled The Last Days of Left Eye, hoping to capture her rebirth and spiritual awakening. Tragically, on April 25, 2002, Lisa's life ended in a devastating car accident while traveling on a rural road in La Ceiba. She was only 30. The crash, caught partially on camera, shocked the world and immortalized her as a star who was both luminous and haunted. Lisa Lopes wasn't just a performer, she was a force of energy, always walking the tightrope between chaos and creativity. Her death left fans grieving a soul who burned with passion, lived on instinct, and died on the verge of transformation. Even today, her legacy continues to inspire artists who dare to challenge convention and seek deeper truth. Prince. Born Prince Rogers Nelson on June 7, 1958 in Minneapolis, this musical genius didn't just perform, he reimagined sound style and what it meant to be an artist. Known simply as Prince, he fused rock, funk, R&B, and pop into a sound that defied labels. But it wasn't just his music that mesmerized, it was his bold, fashion, gender-defying presence and fierce independence. Prince burst onto the scene in the late 1970s, and by the time Purple Rain arrived in 1984, he had become an icon. The album sold over 25 million copies globally, and the film of the same name earned him an Academy Award. But behind the electrifying performances was a man obsessed with artistic control. In the 90s, he famously changed his name to an unpronounceable symbol to escape a record label contract, sparking global conversations about artist rights. Despite the fame, Prince lived a private life. Offstage, he battled physical ailments, especially chronic hip pain, a result of years of intense performances in heels. His quiet reliance on prescribed painkillers slowly turned dangerous. On April 21, 2016, he was found unresponsive in an elevator at his Paisley Park estate. The cause, an accidental overdose of fentanyl. He was 57. His sudden death sent shockwaves through the world. A man who had always seemed larger than life, invincible even, was gone. Fans lit up landmarks in purple, and artists across generations paid tribute to the innovator who paved the way for freedom in expression and identity. Prince's legacy isn't measured solely in albums or awards, but in how he gave others the courage to be unapologetically themselves. His music broke barriers, his life challenged the system, and his soul, radiant, radical, and restless, continues to inspire dreamers across the globe. Aaliyah Dana Houghton emerged in the 1990s like a breath of fresh air, elegant, mysterious, and endlessly talented. Born on January 16, 1979 in Brooklyn and raised in Detroit, Aaliyah's destiny was intertwined with music from the start. By age 10, she had appeared on Star Search, and at just 14, she released her debut album, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, introducing the world to her cool, whispery vocal style and futuristic image. But it was her sophomore album, One in a Million, 1996, that catapulted her into superstardom. With producers Timbaland and Missy Elliott, Aaliyah pioneered a new sound in R&B, sleek, spacey, and ahead of its time. Her fashion was just as iconic: sunglasses, baggy pants, crop tops. She made tomboy chic look like royalty. She soon broke into film, starring in Romeo Must Die, and was set to lead the Matrix sequels. On August 25, 2001, Aaliyah boarded a small charter plane in the Bahamas after wrapping the music video for Rock the Boat. The aircraft, dangerously overloaded and piloted by someone later found unlicensed for the job, crashed shortly after takeoff. Aaliyah and 8 others were killed instantly. She was only 22 years old. Her death devastated fans and peers alike. She had just begun a new era in her career, bridging music, film, and fashion with grace few could match. Tributes poured in from every corner of the globe, mourning not just the loss of a singer, but the loss of what could have been a global superstar in full bloom. Even 2 decades later, Aaliyah remains a style icon, her sound still influencing new artists. She wasn't just a trendsetter, she was timeless. Her legacy proves that a short life can still leave a long, unforgettable echo. Tupac Shakur. Tupac Amaru Shakur wasn't just a rapper. He was a revolution wrapped in rhythm. Born on June 16, 1971 in East Harlem, New York, Tupac carried the fire of activism in his blood. His mother, Afeni Shakur, was a Black Panther, and her fight for justice became the blueprint for his voice. Through art, Tupac spoke directly to the streets, the pain, the dreams, and the brutal realities that mainstream America often ignored. His debut album, Tupacalypse Now, 1991, rattled the system with songs like Brenda's Got a Baby, while his later projects, Me Against the World and All Eyes on Me, elevated him into hip-hop royalty. Known for his raw delivery and poetic depth, Tupac could shift from vulnerable to vengeful in the same verse. Tracks like Dear Mama revealed a tender soul, while Hit 'Em Up showcased his explosive rage during the East Coast-West Coast rivalry. But fame came with storms. Legal troubles, jail time, industry feuds, and an ever-present cloud of danger surrounded his every move. On the night of September 7, 1996, after attending a Mike Tyson fight in Las Vegas, Tupac was shot multiple times while riding in a car with Death Row Records' CEO Suge Knight. He fought for 6 days before passing on September 13th at just 25 years old. His murder remains unsolved, a haunting mystery in hip-hop history. But Tupac's legacy is anything but silent. He left behind over 75 million albums sold worldwide, and his influence extends far beyond music. He was a symbol of resistance, intellect, and contradiction, a man who could quote Shakespeare and provoke political thought with the same breath he used to spit rhymes. Even now, Tupac's words feel prophetic. His music remains a blueprint for truth-telling in a world that often prefers silence. His death robbed us of a future leader, but his message lives on unfiltered, fearless, and immortal. José Dwayne Ricardo, Onfroy. Few artists in recent memory sparked as much passion and controversy as José Dwayne Ricardo Onfroy, known worldwide as XXXTentacion. Born on January 23, 1998 in Plantation, Florida, José grew up in a turbulent environment marked by instability and emotional volatility. Yet from that chaos emerged a deeply introspective artist who connected with an entire generation through raw honesty and pain. He began his music career on SoundCloud in 2013, where his aggressive genre-blending style, a mix of rap, emo punk, and lo-fi, immediately stood out. By 2017, XXXTentacion had released 17, a hauntingly emotional album that addressed depression, suicide, and inner torment. Tracks like Jocelyn Flores and Revenge weren't just songs. They were cries for help that millions related to. Despite his rising fame, Jossé's life was marred by legal issues and personal scandals. Allegations of abuse and violent behavior polarized public opinion. Still, his impact was undeniable. His music charted globally, and his message, though often dark, reached listeners who felt unseen and unheard. On June 18, 2018, José was leaving a motorcycle dealership in Deerfield Beach, Florida, when two armed men ambushed him in broad daylight. They shot him in a botched robbery and fled with a Louis Vuitton bag containing $50,000. He died at the scene just 20 years old. His death shocked the music world. Millions of fans mourned the loss of an artist who had only begun to explore his potential. XXXTentacion had plans for charitable work, self-improvement, and fatherhood dreams cut short in an instant. Though controversial, José's influence on Gen Z was profound. He opened up public discussions about mental health, vulnerability, and emotional expression in hip-hop. In death, his legacy is still debated, but one thing is certain: XXXTentacion voiced what many were too afraid to say, and for that he remains unforgettable. Chance Perdomo. Chance Perdomo was more than just a promising actor. He was a beacon of possibility in an industry hungry for fresh, diverse talent. Born on October 19, 1996 in Los Angeles and raised in Southampton, England, Chance held dual cultural identities that shaped his unique voice as an artist. He first rose to recognition with his breakout role as Ambrose Spellman in Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, where his charm, wit, and magnetic screen presence quickly earned him a devoted fan base. He wasn't just talented, he was versatile. With nominations for a British Academy Television Award and a key role in the superhero series Gen V, Chance was poised to become one of Hollywood's next major stars. He brought sophistication and depth to every performance, often choosing characters that challenged stereotypes and broadened representation. But just as his career was reaching a new height, tragedy struck. On March 30, 2024, Chance Perdomo lost his life in a motorcycle accident. He was only 27 years old. The accident occurred during a private evening ride, a moment of solitude that ended in devastation. Initial reports described poor visibility and wet road conditions, but no signs of recklessness or foul play. It was a loss that came with no warning. His passing stunned fans and colleagues alike. At such a young age, Chance had already shown the poise and professionalism of a seasoned actor. Many believed he was on the verge of becoming a household name, someone who could transition seamlessly between television, film, and even international stardom. What made Chance so beloved wasn't just his talent, but his spirit, thoughtful, grounded, and deeply committed to his craft. He was known for his humility, his intelligence, and his vision for using art as a vehicle for change. Though his time was brief, his impact endures, a bittersweet reminder of a star whose brightest moments were still ahead. The Notorious B.I.G., Christopher George LaTorre Wallace. Known to the world as the Notorious B.I.G., or simply Biggie Smalls, redefined East Coast hip-hop with his unmatched storytelling and commanding presence. Born on May 21, 1972, in Brooklyn, New York, Biggie grew up in the rough streets of Bed-Stuy, where he turned hardship into lyrical gold. His rhymes weren't just clever, they were cinematic, gritty, and brutally honest. With his debut album Ready to Die in 1994, Biggie exploded onto the scene. Songs like Juicy Big Papa and Gimme the Loot revealed a gifted narrator who could flip between vulnerability and bravado with ease. He wasn't just rapping about street life, he was crafting vivid scenes of survival, ambition, and betrayal layered with charisma and a hypnotic flow. Biggie's larger-than-life persona became central to hip-hop's golden era. Under the mentorship of Sean Puffy Combs and the Bad Boy Records label, he ascended quickly, But his rise coincided with one of hip-hop's darkest chapters, the East Coast-West Coast feud. Tensions with Tupac Shakur and Death Row Records escalated, publicly stoked by media and egos, creating an environment that felt more like war than artistry. On March 9, 1997, after attending a music industry party in Los Angeles, Biggie was gunned down in a drive-by shooting. He was only 24 years old. Like Tupac's death just 6 months prior, Biggie's murder remains officially unsolved, though theories and speculation continue to swirl. Despite his short life, Biggie's influence is eternal. Life After Death, released just weeks after his passing, debuted at #1 and went on to become one of the most celebrated hip-hop albums of all time. His voice, smooth, confident, sometimes sorrowful, still resonates in every corner of the genre. Biggie wasn't just a rapper. He was a narrator of urban truth, a lyrical architect who gave pain, joy, and hustle a voice. His music endures as both a triumph and a warning of what brilliance can rise from struggle and how quickly it can be taken away. Merlin Santana. Merlin Santana had the charm, the look, and the talent to become one of Hollywood's next great leading men. Born on March 14, 1976 in New York City to Dominican parents, Merlin began his career as a child actor. His early appearances in commercials led to recurring roles in television, including The Cosby Show and Moshe. But it was his role as Romeo Santana on The Steve Harvey Show that made him a household name. On screen, he was smooth, funny, and charismatic, the kind of actor who could own a scene with a single line or smirk. Off-screen, Merlin was known for his work ethic and his dedication to building a sustainable career. He had begun branching out into music and film, determined not to be typecast as just a teen heartthrob. But everything came to a tragic halt on November 9, 2002 in Los Angeles. While sitting in a car with a friend, Merlin was shot in the head and killed instantly. He was just 26 years old. The shooting wasn't random. It was the result of a fabricated accusation made by a 15-year-old girl. Her false claims set off a chain reaction that led her boyfriend and his accomplice to ambush Merlin in cold blood. The entertainment industry was stunned. A promising life was ended not by personal mistakes or recklessness, but by someone else's lie. A reminder of how quickly a reputation can be destroyed and a life taken in the age of rumors and rage. Merlin's death is often overlooked in Hollywood retrospectives, but his impact remains. He represented the dreams of young black actors looking for honest opportunities in a challenging industry. His tragic end also sparked difficult conversations about accountability, violence, and how the pursuit of fame can be derailed by forces far outside one's control. In remembrance, Merlin Santana stands as both a cautionary tale and a symbol of unfulfilled greatness. Natina Reed. Natina Reed was a multifaceted talent, singer, rapper, actress, and writer with a spark that made her unforgettable. Born on October 28, 1980 in Queens, New York, and raised in Georgia, Natina rose to fame as a founding member of the R&B girl group Black, discovered by none other than Lisa "Left Eye" Lopes of TLC. With hits like 808 and Bring It All to Me, Black brought a fierce, futuristic energy to late 90s R&B, and Natina's unique voice and swagger made her the group's undeniable standout. In addition to music, Natina found success on the silver screen, most notably playing the feisty cheerleader Jenna Lopez in the 2000 cult classic Bring It On. Her presence was magnetic. She wasn't just performing, she was commanding attention. Behind the scenes, she was also a songwriter and creative mind, with aspirations of relaunching her career after years of stepping away from the spotlight. But on October 26, 2012, just 2 days before her 32nd birthday, Natina's life was tragically cut short. While walking near a highway in Atlanta, she was struck by a vehicle. The circumstances were sudden and devastating, and despite speculation, authorities ruled it an accident. She left behind a young son music that defined an era and countless fans who mourned the abrupt end of a comeback in the making. Natina had recently reunited with Block and was preparing to release new material, hoping to reclaim her place in an industry she had helped shape. Her passing robbed the music world of a voice that still had so much more to say. Natina Reed wasn't just part of a girl group, she was a pioneer blending hip-hop and R&B with unapologetic edge. Her death serves as a painful reminder that even the strongest, most vibrant lights can be extinguished without warning, and that timing, not talent, often determines legacy. Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin was not a celebrity in the traditional sense, but his name is forever etched in American history as a symbol of injustice and the turning point in a national conversation on race. Born on February 5, 1995 in Miami Gardens, Florida, Trayvon was an ordinary 17-year-old with big dreams. He loved sports, wanted to become a pilot, and enjoyed spending time with his friends and family. To those who knew him, he was bright, ambitious, and full of promise. On the night of February 26, 2012, Trayvon was walking home from a convenience store in Sanford, Florida, carrying a bag of Skittles and a can of iced tea. He was unarmed, wearing a hoodie, and talking on the phone with a friend. George Zimmerman, a self-appointed neighborhood watch volunteer, found Trayvon suspicious and followed him despite police advising him not to. Minutes later, a fatal confrontation occurred. Trayvon was shot in the chest and died at the scene. He was just 17 years old. Zimmerman's acquittal in July 2013 ignited nationwide protests and gave rise to the Black Lives Matter movement. Trayvon's death became more than a personal tragedy. It exposed the deep racial divides in American society and forced the country to confront uncomfortable truths about profiling, systemic inequality, and justice denied. Trayvon didn't get to fulfill his dreams or grow into the man he hoped to become. Yet in death he became a symbol of resistance, a face for millions of unheard voices. His mother, Sabrina Fulton, became an activist, turning pain into purpose. His name now stands alongside other young Black lives lost too soon, fueling movements, reforms, and hard conversations that continue today. Trayvon Martin's legacy is proof that even a single life unjustly taken can spark a movement powerful enough to change the world. Naya Rivera. Naya Rivera was a performer who left an indelible mark on both the screen and the hearts of millions. Born on January 12, 1987 in Valencia, California, she began her career as a child actor appearing in shows like Family Matters and The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But it was her breakthrough role as Santana Lopez on Glee that made her a star. Fierce, witty, and emotionally layered, her character became an icon, especially for LGBTQ+ viewers who rarely saw themselves authentically represented on screen. Naya didn't just act, she sang, danced, and lit up every scene with her electric presence. Her performances of If I Die Young and Valerie on Glee showcased her vocal power and emotional depth. Off-screen, she was equally magnetic, candid, funny, and devoted to her young son, Josie. On July 8, 2020, Naya and her 4-year-old son rented a boat on Lake Piru in California. A few hours later, the boat was found drifting. Josie was safe asleep, wrapped in a towel. Naya was missing. After a 5-day search, her body was recovered on July 13th. Authorities believe she used her final strength to lift her son back onto the boat before being pulled under by the current. She was 33 years old. Her death stunned fans around the world. Here was a woman in her prime, a loving mother, and a talented actress taken in a moment of silent heroism. She didn't just save her child, she left behind a legacy of strength, sacrifice, and love that transcended the screen. Naya Rivera's passing was a profound loss, but it also revealed the depth of her character in life's most critical moment. She will forever be remembered not only as a star, but as a mother whose final act defined what it means to be truly heroic. Cameron Boyce. Cameron Boyce wasn't just a Disney star, he was a radiant force whose impact stretched far beyond television screens. Born on May 28, 1999 in Los Angeles, Cameron began acting at the age of 9 and quickly captured hearts with his charm and sincerity. He rose to fame through Disney Channel hits like Jessie and Descendants, where his role as Carlos, the son of Cruella de Vil, showed off both his comedic timing and his dynamic dance skills. But Cameron's legacy wasn't defined only by his talent. Off-screen, he was deeply committed to philanthropy. He helped launch the Wielding Peace campaign to combat gun violence and was heavily involved in raising awareness about homelessness and clean water initiatives. For someone so young, he carried himself with wisdom, compassion, and a striking sense of responsibility. Tragically, on July 6, 2019, Cameron passed away in his sleep after suffering a seizure caused by epilepsy, a condition he had quietly battled for years. He was only 20 years old. The news of his sudden death sent shockwaves across the globe. Friends, fans, and fellow actors mourned the loss of someone whose light had always felt so constant and full of promise. His family later established the Cameron Boyce Foundation, dedicated to continuing his humanitarian work and bringing awareness to epilepsy. In this way, his legacy lives on not just through his performances, but through meaningful change he sparked in others. Cameron wasn't just an entertainer. He was a role model, a friend, and a young man who made kindness his mission. Though his time was heartbreakingly brief, his voice still echoes through every smile he inspired and every cause he supported. He proved that even the shortest lives can have the most powerful stories. Robin Harris. Robin Harris was a comedic genius whose wit, timing, and authenticity lit up every room he walked into. Born on August 30th, 1953 in Chicago, Harris wasn't the flashy Hollywood type, he was the real deal. With a deep, booming voice and rapid-fire delivery, he became known for telling it like it is, using everyday life and sharp cultural observations as fuel for his humor. He honed his skills on the stand-up circuit, eventually becoming a headliner at Los Angeles comedy clubs like the Comedy Act Theater. But it was his unforgettable role as Pops in House Party 1990 that made him a household name. Audiences loved his tough love attitude and razor-sharp one-liners. His comedy album and recurring Bebe's Kids routine about unruly children he couldn't escape became iconic, spawning an animated film that he never got to see completed. Just as his career was skyrocketing, tragedy struck. On March 18, 1990, Robin died in his sleep from a heart attack after performing a sold-out show in Chicago. He was only 36 years old. The suddenness of his passing left fans stunned. He had just wrapped filming for Harlem Nights and was being offered leading roles opportunities that had taken years to earn. Robin Harris's brand of humor was raw, relatable, and always grounded in love for his community. He never relied on gimmicks or fame, just truth and impeccable timing. Even decades after his death, comedians continue to cite him as an influence, and his style lives on in the cadence of modern black comedy. Though his time on Earth was brief, Robin Harris's comedic voice never faded. He wasn't just funny, he was fearless, original, and deeply missed. His laughter may have been silenced too soon, but his legacy continues to echo in every punchline told with honesty and heart. Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick Boseman wasn't just a movie star, he was a symbol of strength, dignity, and cultural pride. Born on November 29, 1976, in Anderson, South Carolina, Boseman's journey to fame was built on intention. After studying directing at Howard University, he honed his craft in theater before stepping into the film industry. From the beginning, he made it clear he would only take roles that meant something. He first stunned audiences with his portrayal of Jackie Robinson in 42, 2013, then brought James Brown to life in Get On Up 2014. But it was his role as T'Challa the Black Panther that made him a global icon. When Black Panther premiered in 2018, it wasn't just a film, it was a cultural revolution. Chadwick embodied royalty, showing millions of black children what a superhero who looked like them could be. The film broke records and hearts in equal measure. What the world didn't know was that Chadwick was battling stage 3 colon cancer, diagnosed in 2016. Despite undergoing surgeries and chemotherapy, he continued to work, starring in Marshall da Five Bloods and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom without ever making his illness public. He passed away on August 28, 2020, at the age of 43, surrounded by family. His death sent shockwaves through the industry, not only because it was so sudden, but because he had carried such a heavy burden in silence. Chadwick wasn't seeking sympathy, he was focused on legacy. He chose roles that celebrated Black excellence and resilience, knowing time was limited. Even in his final years, he became a real-life hero, visiting children in cancer wards and using his platform to uplift others. Chadwick Boseman's legacy is one of quiet power, grace under pressure, and a lasting reminder that true greatness often moves in silence. Wakanda may be fictional, but the king we lost was very real and irreplaceable. Michael K. Williams. Michael Kenneth Williams was one of the most captivating actors of his generation, a man whose presence could steal a scene with just a glance. Born on November 22, 1966, in Brooklyn, New York, Williams carried the pain and poetry of the streets into every role he played. Before acting, he worked as a dancer and choreographer, appearing in music videos for artists like Madonna and George Michael. His life changed forever when he was slashed across the face during a bar fight. The resulting scar became his signature, a visual symbol of survival and grit. But it was his performance as Omar Little in HBO's The Wire that cemented his legend. Omar, the shotgun-wielding stick-up man with a moral code, became one of television's most complex anti-heroes, a Black openly gay character portrayed with nuance, vulnerability, and power. Williams brought similar depth to roles in Boardwalk Empire, When They See Us, and Lovecraft Country, earning 5 Emmy nominations throughout his career. He had the rare ability to humanize society's forgotten, portraying trauma without glorifying it. His talent wasn't just in acting, it was in truth-telling. But behind the brilliance was a lifelong battle with addiction. Michael often spoke candidly about his struggles, using his platform to advocate for recovery and support for at-risk youth. Despite years of sobriety and success, he was found dead in his Brooklyn apartment on September 6, 2021, from an accidental overdose involving fentanyl. He was 54 years old. His death served as a painful reminder of how even the most seemingly invincible artists carry silent burdens. Colleagues described him as gentle, generous, and deeply introspective, a man whose heart was as expansive as his range. Michael K. Williams didn't just act, he channeled the soul of the unheard. His legacy endures not only in unforgettable characters, but in the empathy he brought to every performance. He was a mirror to real life, and now a light that won't fade. Bernie Mac. Bernard Jeffrey McCullough, known to the world as Bernie Mac, was a comedic powerhouse who turned honesty into hilarity. Born on October 5, 1957 in Chicago, Bernie grew up in a working-class household where laughter often served as a shield against hardship. He began performing stand-up in the late 70s, but it wasn't until his brutally funny routines on Def Comedy Jam in the 1990s that he became a breakout star. Bernie's comedy was raw, fearless, and rooted in real-life experiences, whether talking about raising kids' marriage or the struggles of being Black in America. He didn't hold back. That authenticity made him a favorite, not just in comedy clubs, but also in homes across the country. He brought that same honesty to The Bernie Mac Show, which aired from 2001 to 2006. The series was groundbreaking. A single Black father raising his sister's kids, told from a humorous and heartfelt perspective. The show earned him Emmy nominations and a Peabody Award. Bernie also shined on the big screen with standout roles in Ocean's 11, Mr. 3000, Guess Who, and the original Kings of Comedy, where he shared the stage with fellow legends like Steve Harvey and Cedric the Entertainer. Just as he was entering the prime of his acting career, tragedy struck. On August 9, 2008, Bernie Mac passed away at the age of 50 due to complications from sarcoidosis and inflammatory lung disease compounded by pneumonia. Many fans were shocked to learn he had quietly battled the illness for years. His death left a void not just in entertainment, but in the hearts of people who saw themselves in his jokes, flaws, frustrations, and all. Bernie Mac didn't just make people laugh, he made them feel seen. His voice was loud, unapologetic, and irreplaceable. Even in silence, his punchlines still echo, and his legacy lives on in every comedian who dares to tell the truth without flinching. Whitney Houston. Whitney Elizabeth Houston was a once-in-a-generation talent. A voice so powerful it could shake stadiums and so tender it could move millions to tears. Born on August 9, 1963 in Newark, New Jersey, Whitney was raised in a family steeped in music. Her mother, Cissy Houston, was a gospel singer, and her cousin was none other than Dionne Warwick. From church choirs to backup vocals, her rise felt destined. In 1985, Whitney released her debut album and the world took notice. Songs like Saving All My Love for You, How Will I Know, and Greatest Love of All rocketed to the top of the charts. Her sophomore album broke even more records, making her the first female artist to debut at #1 on the Billboard 200. With her signature ballads and unmatched range, she became The Voice, a title no one has ever truly matched. Her rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner at the 1991 Super Bowl is still considered the greatest of all time. In film, she delivered a timeless performance in The Bodyguard 1992, alongside Kevin Costner, with its soundtrack led by I Will Always Love You becoming the best-selling movie soundtrack in history. But behind the soaring vocals and glamorous image was a woman in pain. Whitney's life became tabloid fodder as her marriage to Bobby Brown and her struggles with addiction began to overshadow her artistry. Years of public scrutiny, personal battles, and professional pressure chipped away at the superstar the world had once idolized. On February 11, 2012, Whitney was found unresponsive in a bathtub at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. She was 48 years old. The coroner later ruled her death accidental, caused by drowning with heart disease and cocaine use as contributing factors. Her passing was not just the end of a career, it was the loss of a cultural icon. Whitney Houston left behind a legacy that transcends music. Her voice continues to inspire artists worldwide, and her story remains a cautionary tale about the cost of fame. She was brilliant, vulnerable, and unforgettable, a star whose light still shines. Wanda Smith. Wanda Smith was more than a radio personality. She was the heartbeat of Atlanta's morning airwaves for over a decade. Born and raised in Georgia, Wanda rose to prominence as the co-host of the wildly successful Frank and Wanda in the Morning Show on V103, one of Atlanta's leading urban radio stations. Her voice was instantly recognizable, warm, witty, and bold, often the first sound many Atlantans heard to start their day. She wasn't afraid to speak her mind, ask the hard questions, or crack a joke at just the right moment. With her infectious laughter and natural charisma, Wanda helped transform radio from a medium of music to a platform for community culture and comedy. She brought on celebrities, broke local stories, and championed causes that mattered deeply to the people she served. In addition to her radio legacy, Wanda also dabbled in stand-up comedy and acting, appearing in films like Tyler Perry's Madea Goes to Jail and The Drone That Saved Christmas. She had a knack for lighting up every stage she stepped onto, blending humor with honesty in a way that made her deeply relatable. Tragically, in October 2024, Wanda Smith passed away unexpectedly at the age of 58. Her death came at a time when many believed she was poised for a major second act, returning to television and comedy after stepping back from the spotlight. The cause was never made fully public, but the impact was undeniable. Atlanta mourned deeply for the voice that had once filled its homes with laughter and warmth. Wanda may not have been a household name nationwide, but in her city, she was royalty. She uplifted a generation, especially Black women in media, and proved that power doesn't always come from center stage. Sometimes it lives in a microphone, a laugh, and the love of a community that never stopped listening. Pop Smoke. Bashar Baraka Jackson, better known as Pop Smoke, was a rising force in hip-hop whose impact was meteoric and unforgettable. Born on July 20th, 1999 in Brooklyn, New York, Pop Smoke embodied the raw energy of the streets and transformed it into a sound that took over the world. With a voice like gravel and a flow that was both menacing and hypnotic, he brought the Brooklyn drill scene into the mainstream. He exploded onto the rap radar in 2019 with his breakout single Welcome to the Party, a track that became an anthem in clubs and cities alike. He followed it with Dior, which solidified his place as the genre's new leader. His sound was gritty, urgent, and magnetic, drawing comparisons to legends before him, while carving out something entirely new. Pop Smoke wasn't just another rapper, he was a visionary. At just 20 years old, he was working with major producers, modeling for fashion houses like Louis Vuitton, and preparing for international stardom. His debut studio album, Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon, released posthumously in July 2020, debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 and was certified platinum, proof that his potential was boundless. But everything changed on February 19, 2020, when Pop Smoke was killed during a home invasion in Los Angeles. He was renting a house in the Hollywood Hills when intruders, tipped off by social media posts revealing his location, broke in and fatally shot him. The rap world was left reeling. He was just getting started. His death highlighted not just the violence that continues to plague young artists, but also the vulnerability of fame in the digital age. Pop Smoke's life was full of ambition, vision, and defiance, qualities that inspired a new generation of artists. Though his time was short, Pop Smoke's influence on hip-hop was seismic. His voice still echoes in speakers worldwide, and his energy lives on in the drill scene he helped redefine. He didn't just enter the industry, he kicked down the door. What if we told you that some of the most brilliant black stars were taken at the very height of their greatness, not by chance, but by tragedy? From mysterious deaths and violent ends to silent battles fought behind the scenes, these stories will break your heart and open your eyes. These weren't just celebrities, they were pioneers, voices, and visionaries. So why did their lives end so soon? Stay with us as we uncover the truth behind 15 black legends gone too early. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Legends of Black Excellence for more powerful stories.